Hey guys, welcome back to this place, and if you are new, then welcome here for the very first time. I am Carmen, and today we are continuing our Battlestar Galactica journey with Season 1, Episode 6. Last time on Battlestar Galactica, we had Starbuck trapped on a random planet. We had them staying, trying to find her. And there was a little bit of ingenuity from Starbuck. She figured out how to control the Cylon Raider ship, which was part Cylon and part mechanical and part organic. And now they have that ship, so they are going to be able to, just figure it out how it works and how the Cylons are using it, and maybe find a better way of defeating it, because now they have this insider information, kind of. We had Hilo and Sharon on Caprica, which I'm slowly starting to understand, you guys. Someone left a comment, or a few people left comments telling me that the 12 colonies of Cobol, the 12 planets, are named after the zodiac signs, I guess, that we know. Like Caprica is Capricorn, Sagittarian is Sagittarius, which is kind of automatically my favorite because I am a Sagittarius. But that actually is a very helpful bit of info and is helping me to sort of orient myself in time and space. I know that it's taking me a bit of time, but we're introduced to an entire new world here, like, and an entire set of different beliefs. So it's, similar but slightly different beliefs. So it's taking me a minute to sort of learn the basic tenets of everything, but I promise you guys I'm getting there. I'm learning slowly but surely. Anyway, yeah, we had them on Caprica, Hilo and Sharon got kidnapped by the Cylons, and I don't know. I'm very curious as to what all of that is going to be about. But, we're just going to have to keep watching and find out. And let me stop rambling so we can just get right into this episode. The first time they showed that, and I'm like, what? Tell me that plan.
Jared, get out of here!
Is that previously on? Yeah, that's previously on. At some point, I will learn when to look away.
Another Cylon! Don't leave me!
What's this?
Attention, the Scorpion Traveler has docked. Civilians currently boarding Galactic.
Scorpion Traveler, I think is what they said, and there's civilians on it.
Next.
Is it that guy from the previously on? Because they know he's a Cylon. Or like a copy of him.
Got your back, Chief.
Nice.
Him and Sharon? Yeah.
Oh.
Hopefully they don't get caught. What's this guy doing? He recognizes him, right? He has to.
Security, XO. Buzzway to sea level. Approach from aft. Repeat.
Adama saw
Approach from
too.
aft.
Darrow!
Is it a different person? No, it's definitely him. Why would they not have him on like his face on some sort of list so that people know not to let him in the ship? Okay. Now it's gonna be, I'm learning, you guys. I'm learning, you guys. Oh my God.
3 dead, 13 injured.
It was him, right?
Yes.
Yes. I want to see the Master at Arms in my office in 10 minutes.
Cylon.
Yes.
The Cylons look like us now.
Yep. Oh.
Like us?
Oh yeah, they don't want that information out. Maybe that's why they don't have him on like a no-fly list.
The bomber was another copy of a man we knew as Doro. I want you to open an investigation immediately.
I need a free hand, the authority to follow evidence wherever it might lead.
That's asking a lot.
You'll get it.
I also strongly recommend alerting the public to the Cylon threat.
Kind of agree. Or even if you don't say it's because he's a Cylon, say like, hey, this person, this is what they look like. Danger.
Keeping silent hasn't helped us very much. Maybe shining a light on the situation will make things pop up.
I mean, I don't know.
I owe you one.
Honestly, yeah, you do. He literally saved your life. Are they making alcohol?
So who's first?
How about me?
The only thing you're making out of this is a one-way trip to sickbay or the morgue.
Oh.
Now, tonight, I'll show you people how this is done. Get the hell out of here before I change my mind.
He's fun. I still don't know his name.
He's very handsome. He's attractive. I hope you're more convincing than that with him. If he wants to find me, he'll head north. If he wants to go alone, he'll go south.
If he flees, he dies.
I still don't understand what the fuck they're doing.
With the help of the public, it'll make it a lot easier.
People are going to be shocked, angry, terrified, paranoid.
I'm setting up a tribunal.
And that tribunal will have to come back to the public with a name. These things have a way of inflicting damage on the people you least expect. I do not want a witch hunt.
I agree. I think she's right.
Where were you at the time of the bombing?
In my rack, reading Chief. He was on the hangar deck going over some paperwork, I think.
How do you know that if you were in your rack?
Their stories
the
aren't
chief?
lining up.
Yeah, he was there.
This is gonna blow up in their face. This is the chief and Sharon's little dalliance is going to.
Yeah, he was. He came in, did some work on one of the Vipers that the captain runs.
I think they all know, and so they're trying to cover, but that cover is gonna look bad.
I was asleep, Sergeant.
That's not what your underlings are saying, though. So it's looks bad. The thing is, if you're going to lie, you really need to get your stories straight across the board. Like slight deviances so it doesn't seem rehearsed, but the same fucking story, you know?
Word of the explosion on the Galactica has spread through the entire fleet.
How are there this many reporters out of the people that are still alive?
I feel it is time to reveal certain information that has until now remained a tightly guarded secret.
Don't do it!
The Cylons have the ability to mimic human form. They look like us now.
No, I feel like this is a bad idea.
This man has been identified as a Cylon agent. This man has also been identified as a Cylon. There are duplicates of each Cylon model.
What if they just look like that, though? You know, like, I don't know.
I mean, who's a Cylon now?
Excuse me, sir. Will you come with us, please? Chief, need you to come along as well.
What's the meaning of all this?
Step back.
Lieutenant asked you a question, Sergeant.
A tribunal has been convened. It requires the presence of Lieutenant Valeri and Chief Tyrrell, and I am here to escort them to the wardroom, sir.
Very well. Proceed.
I guess he has a higher rank. I'm not fully aware of the ranks, but lieutenant is higher than sergeant. I think. It makes
Lieutenant Valeri,
sense.
where were you at the time of the explosion?
I was in my rack, asleep.
Is it true that you and the Chief are involved in a romantic and physical relationship?
Weird that they said romantic and
No.
physical.
The XO ordered us to put a stop to it, so we did.
She's lying. Which, I don't know if this is like court, if that counts as like perjury, but like...
Sir, can you testify as to the whereabouts of Chief Petty Officer Tyrrell at the time of the bombing?
I have no idea where he was.
The thing is, they're between a rock and a hard place.
Collusion with the Cylons.
Collusion with the Cylons.
Do you consent to give your testimony freely without invoking your right to remain silent?
Okay, so it is similar. I wonder if he'll be honest.
Cylons look like people. That means anyone.
Not the Chief.
How do you know?
That's exactly what the Cylons want, for us to turn on each other, start getting suspicious.
She's right.
She is right.
Then we don't got each other's backs when the heat comes down.
That kind of thinking is over. It's every man for himself. You better watch your backs.
Yep. See, the The thing is, people as a whole are stupid, so they can't really be trusted with a lot of things. I'm sorry.
And there was no one on the hangar deck that night.
What about the hatch combing for Causeway C?
I went through the hatch combing on C Causeway.
Your log indicates that all hatches and portals were locked and sealed. I found the hatch open. It opens onto a causeway which leads directly to a small arms lock.
It's blowing up in your face.
Possible that Cylon forced the guard to open it before he killed him. That was an internal security matter, and internal security falls under the purview of the Master at Arms, Sergeant Hadrian.
Why do I have 3 different statements from 3 of your deckhands? They all saw you, and you were anywhere but in your rack. Were you in fact meeting with a Cylon agent?
I mean, yes, but not to his knowledge. Or hers.
I exercised my right under Article 23.
To remain silent. Is it like pleading the fifth?
Who were you with at the time of the bombing, and was this person a Cylon agent?
They were, but again, he doesn't know. He was just having sex with his girlfriend.
You saw Chief Tyrrell work on one of the Vipers. Why? Chief Tyrrell told us in his testimony that he was in his rack asleep at the time of the bombing. Did you see him, or didn't you?
No, I left my post. I went to the galley to get some chow. I don't know where he was.
Did you go through the hatch combing on C deck?
Yes, sir. I went through that hatch.
Did you leave it open?
Oh no, is he gonna get, like, swept
Yes,
up
sir, I
in
think
the-
I did.
Specialist, did you leave the hatch open deliberately?
No. Or maybe he did, but it was for Sharon.
Yes, sir.
Can they just admit, I feel like him and Sharon need to just admit that they're having sex. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to, you're gonna get in trouble for it, but it's less bad than treason. Surely sex is less bad than treason in this world, like I would assume.
South.
He just doesn't love you.
I doubt it. I think he's gonna turn north. He's like, fuck, and then he's gonna turn around. Yep.
He's a good man. He always does the right thing.
Are you prepared for the next step?
What is the next step?
Thought I would see how you did.
Your super secret project's on C deck. The bomber was on C deck. Do you think that's where he was headed?
I'm sorry, I
Oh.
don't believe.
Do you think that he was trying to blow up your project?
And you along with it.
Ooh,
I hadn't thought of that.
yeah, me either.
You get well soon.
Why are they trying to blow me up? You're the one that told me what to do in the first place.
But I'm just in your head.
Well, I'm going to have to destroy that Cylon to blame the sabotage on Cylon agents. Oh!
No, you're gonna complete the project.
On what?
I wonder what this looks like to everyone who's just watching. And he's just standing there by himself. You know what I mean? Like, look at that guy. He's like, what the fuck is happening? What? Oh, they have to make it look like she got beat up.
No, Sharon wouldn't give up without a much harder fight.
Damn. Is that enough?
Did you read the tribunal report?
Yes. What about this other man, Chief Tyrrell? He took the 23rd. What is that about?
This is right.
Sound like a lawyer.
My father was a lawyer.
Oh, really?
Civil liberties. If he really wanted to take this ship down, he could.
I don't think that guy, that specialist guy, had anything to do with it either, though. Who are you?
I have orders to bring you before the tribunal.
Excuse me?
Let's go.
You better not be trying to get Adama. This is the problem, though. Like, all of the people that they're questioning are innocent, but there's actually somebody who's guilty out there. And because the innocent people are lying to protect a sex scandal, the guilty people are gonna get away with it. You know? At least I assume. Maybe Boomer did have something to do with it, but like, she doesn't know if she did or not. But she really was just having sex at that time, I think. Yep, that's a Cylon. He's gonna find Sharon and then they'll fight their way out. Again, to what end? Are they just trying to like understand humanity?
You know,
God.
I think we should go.
oblivious to your surroundings there, Hilo.
When did you first learn the truth about the Cylons?
On Ragnar Station before we left.
And you chose to withhold this crucial information, sir?
Yes.
Why?
Cause a public panic.
To alarm the public would only cause chaos and panic.
But
yep,
you also withheld the information from your own security.
I decided to keep the information compartmentalized for the time being.
Sir, isn't it true that
fair?
But I had to weigh the possible ramifications of both.
Had different procedures been followed, the bombing may have been prevented.
That's speculative.
I'm asking if it's possible.
I mean, everything's possible.
Do you believe that there are Cylon agents aboard ship even as we speak?
Yeah. I mean, I know there are.
Yes, I do.
You knew Lieutenant Valeri, Chief Tyrrell were having an illicit relationship. Why did you allow the relationship to continue?
Because it's the end of the world.
I'm a soft touch.
Let people be happy where they can find it.
You may have made it possible for two Cylon collaborators to compromise the safety and security of this ship.
That's a bit of a stretch, in my opinion.
We're done here. You've lost your way, Sergeant. Whatever's left of us, we're better than that.
Yes.
This is an independent board. You have no authority to close our inquiry.
This is a witch hunt.
Yep. Like,
We'll not have it aboard my ship.
President warned you it would become a witch hunt.
Drain the commander and return him to the witness chair.
They better not.
Escort Sergeant Hadrian back to her quarters.
Who are they gonna listen to?
Make your choice, son.
I think they're gonna choose Commander Adama.
Sergeant Hadrian.
Yep. The thing is, like, she's in a way right, but also very wrong. It's tricky.
The investigation has come to a close. This door was left open due to negligence. Specialist Osiris. He's confessed to lying under oath in dereliction of duty in time of war.
Commander, permission to enter?
Somewhere in this there's truth. Care to take me to it?
Sir, I was with Lieutenant Valeri at the time of the bombing. Trying to cover for me, they started lying. I should be in the break.
That's a fact.
So
He either lied the first time or he lied the second time. He's guilty and he'll pay the price. You'll pay a different price.
No.
Knowing that one of your men is in the break because you couldn't keep your fly zipped.
I mean, I think that it's different.
You keep my planes flying. I need my planes to fly.
You reckon they'll break up now? I think they will.
Sir, no. It's over. I love you.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I believe him. He can't deal with the guilt.
I deserve more of an explanation.
Did you not hear the announcement? I feel like that should be your explanation.
One of my men is in the break to protect us. No more secrets, no more lies. That's it.
You can just turn your back on us.
I mean, I'm confused by her reaction to this.
I risk my career, my freedom, my integrity for what? So some innocent kid, one of my kids, can take the fall for me? No!
Like, I get that she's hurt.
Are not worth that.
I mean, he went a bit far with that.
Did you leave the hatch combing open last night?
What are you saying? That I helped the Cylon?
I mean, it could have been an accident.
You have the only answer you're ever gonna get.
I mean, there was no answer, though. Is no answer the only answer? There was a lot of Sharon in this episode. 2 different versions of her, right? And just a lot of different things that we're learning about the worlds. So I'm assuming that when he invoked the 23rd article, it's the same as invoking the 5th, right? He's staying silent or he's refusing to answer under the grounds, or I feel like I'm saying it really weird, that it might incriminate him, right? So he has the right against self-incrimination in their articles the same way that we in the United States have the right against self-incrimination. I'm assuming in other countries as well, right? In the US, we plead the 5th, and we have the right to not say anything in a court of law that could incriminate us because we have that right? So I'm assuming the 23rd is the same thing in this world, and their tribunal, which I think and I don't know that much about military justice, but I think in the military, they also have oftentimes a tribunal in court. And yeah, I can't really speak very much to the way that our current military works or enforces laws, but I know that the military is a lot more harsh and it's a lot different than civilian court. And I think this was more military court. Now, while I think, and I said so during the episode, it seems to me to be a lesser offense to admit to fraternization or whatever against command in a military setting. Perhaps it's not. I know that you're not supposed to have fraternization, sex, relationships, whatever, with people who are in different positions of power within anywhere, right? In a corporation, in a business, in a military thing, right? In the military, I guess. I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for, but it's eluding me. As I am a civilian and I come from a civilian mindset, to me, admitting to sex or a relationship or fraternization doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But I have never been in the military. I don't know very much about the military. So based off of this episode, I'm going to assume that admitting to going against orders and fraternizing with people that you are a direct superior of is a very bad thing in the military, which honestly makes sense because the military is a whole different world, right? There's the world that we civilians live in, and then there's the military. And the military is very it's very much based on the hierarchy, right? And again, this is my limited knowledge of it, so I can't speak to any detail or nuance within the military. This is an outside perspective of what I feel like I've observed in my very uneducated experience, right? So if somebody's in the military, knows people in the military, has a better understanding of the way that it works in our world, please feel free to enlighten me. But I feel like the military is very hierarchical. I can't say that word for some reason right now. But it's very much a hierarchy, right? And it's very dependent on that hierarchy staying in place. The different ranks are incredibly important in that world. And following orders in the military, I understand, is very important. I believe that if you go against orders, you can be court-martialed. Again, clueless civilian here, so this, I think. So it makes sense that they wouldn't just admit to directly going against orders and continuing a relationship when they were ordered not to, because that's perhaps a court-martialable offense. Don't know, but perhaps. However, they're also perjuring themselves in court, which is in civilian court, perjury, very, very bad. In military court, I imagine perjury even worse. So it's frustrating too, because while I think that them admitting to their relationship would have been very bad for them in the system that they exist in, is it worse to admit something that you did wrong and then accept the punishment for that thing, or to let someone else take the fall for something that they didn't do? You know, it's weighing. It's a moral dilemma, and I think that each person has to decide for themselves where they would fall on that moral dilemma. But I just think that I would admit my own wrongdoing over allowing someone else to take the fall for me. But it's interesting because at the end, and Tyrell, the chief guy, is his name Tyrell? Is that right? He came to Adama, and Adama, of course, already knew the truth. And he tried to get that guy out, and Adama was like, you know, he lied under oath twice. Because he either lied the first time or he lied the second time. And it's just interesting that he points that out. But, like, so did Tyrell. So did Valerie. So did... They're all committing perjury, right? Like, I don't know. Is perjury not as bad of a thing in this world? Because they all just lied under oath. Like like it's not that big a deal to lie under oath, which it is. Like, I don't know. Although I did like the scene with Adama and Tyrell. Again, could be saying his name wrong, but I liked the scene where he's saying, you're going to have to live with the guilt that you know that you let somebody else take the fall for something you did, right? Like, that's on you. Like, the tribunal needed a figurehead to blame shit on, right? Which the president warned Adama about, and eventually he saw that it was the truth. But they needed someone to blame stuff on, and this poor specialist, whose name I forget, he became the scapegoat, the figurehead that they could put all their blame on. Because the thing is, the public, people at large, they need someone to blame for a situation, or else they cannot move past that situation. It's such an interesting dilemma and dynamic, because in our world, it's so true, right? Like, there's a saying, and I can't remember who said it, but like, individual people are smart. Or a person is smart, right? An individual person. People as a whole are dumb. And it's true. And it's frustrating because as a person, just a regular civilian in this world, sure, I would like for more transparency in government, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I understand that when you're trying to control, or not control, well, in a way control, but manage, we'll say, a large number of people, you have to, in some situations, keep things from them for their own good, right? Because mass panic, chaos, they don't really help in a situation, right? Like, there's an episode of Criminal Minds, right? And yes, it's fiction, right? But there's an episode of Criminal Minds where they're having this debate of, should we be honest with people because there's a potential outbreak of something, I can't remember what, or should we keep it to ourselves? Ultimately, they have to keep it to themselves to stop mass panic and everything. But there's a quote about, like, isn't, like, it being better that people don't know everything that we've been saved from since 9/11 or something akin to that, right? And I know I'm saying this in a very roundabout way, but I agree with the president in this situation, right? Because I think that sometimes it's not best for everybody to know everything. I think that if it causes mass panic, if it causes mass chaos, if it causes just situations where harm is more likely, where, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the infliction of harm is more likely than any good that it would do for people to know, then people should maybe not know. And so it's not that I don't think that people should know. I don't know why it's so hard to explain, but it's not that I don't think that we should know direct threats to us. Like if there's a hurricane coming and they're like, no, don't tell them, they'll just panic. Like, no, tell people, allow them the chance to survive that. But I think there's situations where the infliction of harm is more likely. And so I think that excuse me, in certain situations, it's better for everybody not to know everything all at once. And especially when you're considering this dilemma, right? Because it's, should everybody know that the Cylons look like us? But we don't know what all of the models of the Cylons are, so we don't know every variation of what they look like. So then you're causing everybody to not trust everybody else, you know? And is that good? Is that good or is that bad? Is that sowing seeds of discord? Is it allowing people to just exercise caution? You know, I think, I don't know. I think it's a tricky situation. And I think that the whole thing is a tricky situation, right? Because if we use Tyrell, again, I hope that's his name, Tyrell and Sharon as like the base. Sharon is a Cylon. She's a sleeper agent. She doesn't know she's a Cylon, but she is a Cylon. She probably did leave the door open unbeknownst to herself, or the hangar unlocked. Again, against her own knowledge. Like, she doesn't know that she did, but she probably did. So it's like, chances are it's her fault. And Tyrell covering for her previously has kind of fucked them, because he was covering for her because she's the person he loves, completely unaware that Cylons can look human, but also completely trusting of her when we know that he perhaps shouldn't be so trusting of her. So it's, I don't know, it's complicated, right? This whole situation should just be described by it's complicated, because it is. I don't know what to think. Like, also the scene at the end with Sharon and him was a bit confusing to me, because her reaction was just a kind of weird reaction. Like, she's like, wait, I don't understand why you're breaking up with me, which makes sense. Maybe she didn't hear the transmission, which everybody else heard, but maybe she didn't hear it. And so he explains it to her, but then after his explanation, she weirdly feels no guilt, or doesn't appear to feel any guilt. And is just instead angry at him. Which I understand her anger when he questions her in a way, because I feel like she could have said, like, it was an accident, right? And I think he would have believed her. But I don't know. I feel like her answer was more sus than his question warranted. But then again, they're in a relationship and he's questioning her like she is helping the Cylons, which would make you very defensive and like bring that wall up of like, what the fuck? Like, we're sleeping together and you think that of me, you know? But it's hard because like we, the audience, know that she is a sleeper agent for the Cylons. So his question's totally valid. Her response, like, a little sus, but like, we also know, again, so it's just like, of course it's going to be suspicious to us. We know the truth. I don't know. It was an interesting episode, and I thought that the moments with the tribunal and Adama were also really interesting because he realized the president was right, that it became a witch hunt, that the public needed someone to blame, and they were going to find someone to blame regardless of whether or not that person was actually guilty. And he put a stop to it. It was very interesting because the tribunal's like, you don't have any power here. And the sergeant lady's like, yeah, you don't have power here. Even though he's like the ultimate power in the military, right? To my knowledge. And then there was that like standoff of him and the sergeant, and ultimately those soldiers, you know, they went with the hierarchy. Adama is the commander. He's, I think, top dog. So they listened to his orders. It was an interesting push and pull of power, and to see which way they swayed was just interesting. Also, was the tribunal made up of civilians or military personnel? Makes sense to me that they would be military, but maybe they were civilians. I don't know. Oh yeah. We also had Hilo and Sharon on Earth, and they're playing some game with Hilo, the Cylons, like Six, other guy, and Sharon. But I don't understand, and again, I don't want spoilers, so don't tell me, but I'm just struggling to figure out the relevance of that plot line and like what they're gonna do with it, like where they're going with it. Like, am I happy it exists because I like Hilo? Yes. Am I confused as to the relevance of it in regards to all of the rest of the plots? Yes. Like, I don't know what the end goal for that plot line is or how it's gonna connect back to the other plot line. And it's a bit confusing, but I like Sharon, both of her, and I like Hilo, so I'm okay with it, but confused about it. Also, it's so funny to me when Gaius is talking to Six, and they're like having their conversations, which, you know, yes, I'm aware that they're in his head, but when they're having those conversations in his head, and he's like walking with her, holding hands, kissing her, being thrown against things by her, but like none of that's actually happening, right? Because they're in his head. I just love to see other people's reactions to it, because it just must look so silly. Like, he's talking, but nobody's there. He's kissing, nobody's there. He's throwing himself against things. Like, it just, they must just think that he's like such an eccentric, strange person around the ship because of the many instances where they've seen him do random weird shit that makes no sense because he's talking to a person in his head that nobody else can see. It's just funny to me. I'm still not sure if she's actually there or not, and what I mean by actually there, because somebody was confused in the comment section before. I know that she's not physically there. I know that she's in his head, right? And that when he's walking and having those conversations, and we as an audience see the two of them, everybody else on the ship just sees him. Like, I get that. I'm not confused about that. I'm just confused if she's actually in his head or not, right? Like, I'm confused if she's just a figment of his imagination that he's using to cope with what's happening and to bounce ideas off of, and if that's just a manifestation of his guilt and he's just, you know, thinking out loud with her, right? Or if she somehow implanted a part of herself in his actual brain. And so, yes, he's talking to her in his head, and he's the only one who can see her, but she is, in a sense, actually there. You know what I mean? Like, I still haven't fully figured out that aspect of it or not. But do not worry, guys. I know that she's not physically actually there. I do know that. I'm not that confused. Also, was the bombing, was the destruction actually meant for his Cylon detection device? Because if it was, then that kind of lends itself to the theory that a part of her is actually there that he can communicate with, that can then communicate back to the other Cylons. If you guys understand what I'm saying, hopefully I've made it clear. Hopefully I haven't just further confused everybody with that. Anyway, I think that's all that I have to say about this episode. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you want, you can like, comment, and subscribe if you aren't already. You can also watch the next episode right now over on Patreon, which is linked down below if you're watching this on YouTube, as well as my entire full-length reaction to this episode and every episode thus far of Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. I hope to see you guys next week for more Battlestar Galactica. Until then, bye guys.